A few unfortunate people are doomed to witness a wicked smile until it becomes their turn to give it. Joining the ranks of those unfortunate few is a therapist who attempts to fight it. She has to go back to her distant past to even stand a chance against the curse. We see a lady lying in bed in a messy room. A young girl stands looking at her. The scene shifts to a lady waking up to a phone call in her office. She is Dr. Rose Cotter. She meets a patient who keeps saying that everyone is going to lose their life. Rose greets him as Carl, telling him he is having a manic episode. Then she comes to see her boss, Dr. Morgan. They talk about a patient who does not have insurance. Morgan wants Rose to check with him before accepting such patients. We see Rose leave her office while her desk phone rings. It prompts her to run back in and answer it. Later, a coworker tells her that a professor ended himself with a hammer. Rose comes to meet the witness of that occurrence in her therapy room. The witness is Laura, who behaves nervously and stands in the corner. Soon they sit down. Rose asks her what date it is, to which Laura answers correctly. She tells Rose she sees something that no one else can. It looks like people, but it's not a person. She gets frustrated, saying the thing changes its appearance. When she sees it, the thing smiles at her. Laura states that it is the worst smile she has ever seen. Witnessing it instills her with genuine fear. Laura says it has taken over her life. Rose tries to calm her, but she loses her calm even more. She screams that no one listens to her and she is going to lose her life. When the unstable lady looks back at the therapist, she falls off the chair, screaming in fear. She crawls back while telling Rose that it's here. Rose sees the patient suffer, prompting her to use the emergency phone to get the staff. Though when she gets off the phone, she sees Laura standing elsewhere with a creepy smile directed at her. She also holds a shard in her hand that she soon applies to herself. As Rose watches her lie lifeless on the floor, Laura's smile stays creepily in place. After that, Rose gets interrogated by two detectives. She tells them what she believes Laura was experiencing. She also tells them that before Laura lost her life, she was smiling. Then Rose arrives home, where she soon has a drink to calm herself. While she pans her sight across the dark room, she perceives a smiling girl. Rose looks at her briefly until a voice surprises her, causing her to drop her glass. The man turns on the light and the smiling girl is no longer there. He is Trevor, Rose's boyfriend. She informs him that her patient lost her life today. That makes the man offer her his comfort. Later, they sit at a restaurant with some company. Holly, Rose's sister, is with her husband, Greg. They talk while Rose seems to be preoccupied with her thinking. We discover that she loves her job as a therapist. When Holly asks her about selling a certain house, Rose loses her calm and rudely tells her sister to be silent. On another day at the hospital, Rose gets surprised by one of the detectives being there. We find out they know each other on a personal level. He is Joel, who came to check on her because he was nearby. However, she tells him she does not need to be checked on by him. Following that, Rose sits in her office, reviewing the attack Laura reported. The report says that the professor smiled at her before ending himself. Shortly after, Rose gets interrupted by a call from Holly, who apologizes to her about last night, though Rose says she should be saying sorry as well. As they speak, she looks out the window to discover that someone is looking her way from a distance. Afterward, she walks along the hallway where she can't help but notice a patient smiling. It is Carl, whose room she enters to communicate with him. However, he does not respond, which makes Rose use louder methods to get his attention. Soon enough, the man starts saying everyone is going to lose their lives again. He turns to her and starts saying that she will lose her life. He says this many times until Rose gets the staff in to restrain him. Then she talks to Morgan, who tells her that Carl has never been aggressive. He believes she may have reacted this way because of what happened with Laura. As a way to deal with the situation, Morgan wants to give Rose a paid week off because she is working too much. At home, she drinks again. Suddenly, her alarm goes off, causing her to drop her glass once more from being startled. Rose grabs some scissors and walks to the front door. No one is there, so she deactivates the alarm. What startles her a second time is the loud ringing of her phone. It is security personnel asking her security questions regarding the alarm. After Rose gives the operator the details needed, she tells her the back door is open. At that point, the operator starts talking differently, asking Rose if she is sure she did not let something inside. She then tells Rose to look behind her. Out of fear, she takes a long time to do so. Amid her turning, the phone rings again. Rose fearfully discovers the phone is no longer in her hand, but rather in its original place. Answering it reveals to be the same security company asking the same initial question. In the next scene, we see the police have arrived at her house. Following their search, two officers tell her everything looks fine. Soon after, Trevor arrives and wants to know what happened. She tells him she set off the alarm by accident. She also tells him she is okay. What she wants to do is find their cat, Mustache, because he seems to be missing. At night, we see a zoom in on the lady lying in bed from the first scene. She wakes up gasping, which seems to cause the same action for Rose right after. She stays up to listen to her session with Laura. Hearing something almost inaudible makes Rose rewind it. After that, though, she does not hear it anymore. Instead, she gets to experience someone yelling her name while standing beside her. Rose falls off her chair and equips herself with a knife upon getting up. She looks around but no one is there anymore. Trevor comes out due to the noise, urging Rose to put down the knife. The next scene has her visiting a therapist whom she seems to know. She asks Rose if she still blames herself for her mother's self-induced demise. However, Rose does not want to talk about it. What she wants is some medication to help with her hallucinations. In a short while, the therapist informs her that she looks healthy. She also wants Rose to visit her regularly. Afterward, she goes to Holly's son's birthday party. The boy starts unwrapping his presents. When he unwraps the present from Rose, he discovers a lifeless cat inside. Rose runs to it and hugs it because it is mustache. She tells the people at the party that she is not responsible for it being there. Then she perceives a girl sitting while smiling wickedly at her. At that moment, Rose loses it and yells for her to be left alone. The girl soon appears in front of her, causing Rose to fall onto a glass table. She shatters it on impact, which gives her injuries. She yells in agony when she sees them. Following that, Rose occupies an emergency room where Dr. Morgan comes to see her. He comes as a visitor, not as a doctor, because he is concerned for her. The man says he wants her to get help. When she arrives home with Trevor, she informs him that something is threatening her. It could be a spirit or some energy. She does not know exactly what it is. Rose explains how it is similar to what took place with her patient before she lost her life. Trevor doesn't know how to handle such information, so he starts walking away. She tries to talk to him, but he can't listen. He returns to ask if she destroyed Mustache, to which she answers it was the inexplicable thing that did it. After hearing those words, Trevor walks away. At night, Rose finds him sleeping on the couch. She uses this time to search for the professor who ended his life. As she searches, she hears a sound coming from the other room. She lies in bed, shaking in fear. We hear someone talk and then appear in the darkness of the other room. That person yells Rose's name. The scene instantly shifts to Rose standing on the road while a car honks at her. She arrives at the house of the deceased professor. His wife, Victoria, lets Rose inside. We later see them discussing her husband. Victoria says he was paranoid, along with listing his other bizarre actions. She soon starts crying because she remembers how he looked when she found him lifeless. Rose asks her if her husband, Gabriel, described what he saw. That prompts Victoria to take Rose into Gabriel's room, which contains many odd drawings. She shows her some drawings of what he claimed to see. The vision started coming to him after he witnessed a lady ending her life. Finally, Rose tells Victoria that Gabriel was not insane. What he perceived was experienced by Rose as well. That fills the lady with anger, and she demands that her guest leaves her house immediately. Subsequently, she comes to see Joel. She enters his apartment, asking if he could find any information he could about Gabriel in recent police reports. He hesitates to do it but quickly agrees to help her. He tells her the lady that Gabriel saw end her life was named Angela Powell, a real estate agent. Rose looks at the picture of Angela being lifeless. What she wants now is for Joel to perform the same search on her. He discovers that she was also interviewed about someone ending their life in front of her. At that point, we see Rose become very scared. She watches a video with Joel of a man at a gas station ending his life in front of Angela. Rose wants him to rewind it to look at the man's face. She sees he was wearing the spooky smile. Joel asks her who these people are, but she cannot answer him. Her last favor from him is to use his printer. Rose returns home to find the therapist there with Trevor. He tells Rose he did not know what else to do because of how she was behaving recently. She states she trusted him, but he did not listen to her. This sparks a short-lived argument between them, and it concludes with Rose being rude to Trevor and her therapist before leaving the house. She comes to see Holly after that to tell her she is cursed. Rose explains the situation to her while showing pictures of the deceased. Disturbed by the pictures, Holly tells her sister curses are not real. She also says this is what happened to their mother. They get into an argument, which makes Holly go back inside. As Rose sits in her car, we see Holly walk toward her. When she stops near the window, her head swings down to show Rose the wicked smile. Rose screams in fear, but we see it was another vision. Joel calls her later, asking why she had not told him about her patient's connection with the other cases. He found 20 cases of people ending their lives that are linked together. However, one of them was not a suicide but rather a murder. Rose questions Joel about that and he tells her the man is alive. Rose lets Joel know she has to talk to that man. Soon after, they ride together. Joel expresses disbelief at what could be happening. He understands the situation just like Rose does, but simply has a hard time accepting it. Rose tells him that maybe the people did not end their lives voluntarily because to her it looked like something else took over Laura. Joel informs her that no victim survived longer than 1 week. Rose replies today is her 4th day. In the next scene, the duo comes to talk to the survivor, Robert Tolley. Rose lets him know early on that she does not care about what he did. She just wants to know what he experienced that prompted him to commit his act. He starts talking about it and Rose asks him what it is, lying to him that a patient of hers is part of the chain of suicides. However, Robert does not know what it is. He will give her whatever information he can if Joel leaves the room. So they make that happen, and Robert tells her about a man in Brazil who escaped the chain of suicides just like he did. One must take someone else's life for the thing to spread elsewhere. Trauma gives it power. At that moment, Rose loses control, telling him she cannot end someone's life. Letting him know she has the curse makes him lose control as well. He yells at why she came to him before losing complete control. Robert gets detained after screaming for her to leave. Outside, Rose lies to Joel that Robert told her nothing. All he was out of his mind. At home, Rose looks at the pictures in fear. Trevor messages her, letting her know he wants them to speak. Shortly after, Rose starts reaching for a knife but gets interrupted by a ring at the door from her therapist. Rose does not want her there. However, the therapist needs to be convinced Rose is not a danger to herself or others. Therefore, she is led inside, where she states that Trevor mentioned Rose was seeing ghosts. She tries to convince her therapist she is normal by saying she doesn't see them anymore. It was likely due to stress. Then her phone rings. Rose answers it to discover it's from her therapist. She cannot believe it as she watches the lady who sits before her. The imposter makes a wicked smile, telling Rose that it's almost time. She starts walking towards her until she grabs the cursed lady by her face, ending the scene there. Afterward, she sits in her car. There is a knife there that she hides in her sleeve. She enters the hospital and walks into Carl's room. When he sees her, he starts losing control. In a short while, Morgan comes in, telling Rose she can't be there. What happens next is she takes out the knife to stab Carl many times. Much to her chagrin, the man does not lose his life, he just laughs at her instead. Rose looks at Morgan to witness him peeling off his face. Then she awakens from that nightmare in her car. As she cries, Morgan surprises her with his presence. He wants to know why she is there. Seeing the knife in the passenger seat prompts him to advise her against going anywhere. For a split second, Rose sees Carl's face instead of Morgan's. It makes her drive away in fear. While driving, she gets a call from Joel being concerned. She tells him she knows what she has to do. The evil force needs all of its victims so it can get passed on. If she is alone, there is no one to pass it to. Following that, Rose arrives at a shabby house near the woods. She comes inside, observing its empty and deteriorated condition. Walking to a certain door, she opens it as her much younger self. There she finds her mother, who asks the young Rose for help. However, the girl runs away instead. Opening the door many years later is now the adult Rose. She looks at the empty bed for a few seconds before leaving. After that, she locks every door and shuts every window. She walks inside the house with a lit lantern until she goes back into her mother's room. Her mother sits on the bed this time. She stands to tell her daughter that she wasn't a good mom. There is something terrible within her. Rose feels bad from hearing this and wants her mom to stop. When she asks her daughter why she allowed her to lose her life, Rose screams because she was afraid of her. She carried the guilt of letting her lose her life for her entire life. Now she has to let it go. Rose tells her it's not real, to which her mother responds that her mind makes it real. Subsequently, Rose leaves the room, walking backward in the hallway. Her mom comes out as a much taller and more grotesque version. She comes after Rose but soon disappears. In a short time, she reappears behind her daughter to bring her down. While she holds her, she tells Rose that she can't escape her own mind. Meanwhile, the lantern lies burning the floor. Rose manages to remove her mom's hold. She follows that by slamming her mother with the burning lantern, setting the monster on fire. She watches her burn for a short while before exiting the house. After all that, Rose drives back. The person she chooses to come to is Joel. She tells him that for most of her life, she has been scared of letting people get close to her because of what they could find if they look. Then she met him, who made her feel like she could get close. It scared her because she was selfish, which was not fair to Joel. So she apologizes to him and asks if she could sleep in his apartment with him by her side. He assures her he will do that. He will stay with her forever. At that moment, the room darkens. Joel starts laughing, causing Rose to back away slowly. She cannot believe what is happening. When he runs after her, she quickly exits the flat. We see she did not enter a hallway but rather outside near the woods. She turns around to see her childhood house again. She never left. Rose sees that Joel arrived there, so she gets scared to the point of running back inside. Her grotesque mother is still there in the house, not damaged by fire. She comes to her daughter and scares her to her knees. Afterward, the monster opens her mouth to start entering her through it. Joel breaks into the house. He searches it to soon find Rose standing while holding a gas tank over her head. She tosses it to the side before turning to face Joel with a wicked smile. Her suffering concludes when she uses a match to light herself on fire. Joel watches in terror as she burns.